Dr. Amina Farid was a scientist. She studied strange life forms from other places. When the world found out that there were real aliens, she was very excited but also very nervous. The government had found a special alien and brought her to a secret place far away from cities. This place was hidden in the mountains. No one outside knew what happened there. Amina worked at this secret research center. It was very big, with many buildings and high fences. The air was cold and clean, but it felt lonely. The people who worked there were quiet and serious. They all followed many rules because the alien was very special and important. The alien was not a visitor. She was a prisoner. She had come from far away and was caught during a fight between her people and humans. The alien was different from anything Amina had ever seen. She was tall and strong. Her skin was a strange color and her eyes were sharp and full of power. She wore armor that looked like it was made for a warrior. Her name was Kira. She did not speak like humans. Instead, she used sounds and signs that no one could understand right away. The rules at the research center were very strict. Scientists were told not to talk to Kira except when it was necessary. They were not allowed to be friends with her. Kira was a prisoner, and the government was afraid she might cause problems. They watched her carefully all the time. Amina knew this, but inside she felt something different. She wanted to understand Kira, not just as a prisoner, but as a living being. At first, Amina only saw Kira during her work. She gave Kira medicine and took tests. Kira did not trust anyone at first. She looked angry and scared. She never smiled. Sometimes she would stare at Amina with big, serious eyes. Amina felt strange because she saw sadness in those eyes. One day, Amina found a small book in her office. It was about the aliens' planet and culture. She started reading it in secret. She learned that Kira's people were brave and proud warriors. They fought to protect their homes but also cared deeply for each other. This made Amina feel closer to Kira, even though they did not talk much. The days passed slowly. Amina and Kira did not speak with words, but they shared moments. Sometimes Kira would look out the window and sigh. Sometimes she would make small movements that looked like trying to say something. Amina began to watch her more closely. She wanted to understand these signs. One night, Amina stayed late in the lab. She saw Kira sitting alone in her room. Kira's eyes were soft for a moment, not full of anger or fear. Amina felt her heart beat fast. She wanted to go to Kira and say something kind, but she remembered the rules. She stayed back but whispered softly, "You are not alone." Kira turned her head slowly and looked at Amina. For a brief moment, it seemed like she wanted to answer. But then she looked away. Amina felt a deep connection in that moment. It was like two lonely souls meeting in silence. The more Amina learned about Kira, the more she wanted to help her. But she also knew that if anyone found out she was trying to befriend the alien, she could lose her job or worse. The rules were there for a reason, but sometimes Amina wondered if those rules were fair. Kira was held in a special room with strong walls and cameras. She could not leave. She was not free like Amina. The scientist thought about what freedom meant. She thought about how Kira's life had changed from being a warrior on her home planet to being a prisoner here on Earth. Despite the danger, Amina decided she would try to communicate with Kira in secret. She began learning the signs Kira made. Slowly, she started to understand small things. When Kira was hungry, when she was scared, when she was tired. It was hard work, but Amina did not give up. One morning, Amina brought Kira a small flower. It was the first gift she had ever given her. Kira looked at the flower with surprise. She touched it gently. Amina smiled, feeling happy that this small act made a difference. Even though no one was allowed to speak feelings to the prisoner, Amina and Kira's bond was growing quietly. Each day, they shared moments that words could not describe. It was a friendship that crossed the line between rules and fear. Amina knew their story was just beginning. There were many challenges ahead, but in the secret silence of the Mountain Research Center, a human and an alien were finding a way to understand each other one small step at a time. Days turned into weeks at the secret research center. The mountain air was still cold, but inside, something warm was beginning to grow between Amina and Kira. Though they could not speak to each other in the usual way, they found other ways to connect. Their communication was quiet but meaningful, made up of small gestures, looks, and silent understanding. Kira, the alien warrior woman, remained calm but watchful. She was careful with her movements, and her eyes told stories of pain and hope. Amina noticed that sometimes Kira would trace patterns in the air with her fingers, as if trying to explain her thoughts. Amina worked hard to learn the meaning of these signs. She began to keep notes and practice in her free time. The scientists around Amina stayed distant and cold. They followed the rules strictly and did not show any kindness to Kira. But Amina's heart was different. She felt sorry for the alien prisoner. She understood that Kira was not just a soldier or a threat. She was a living being with feelings, hopes, and fears, just like anyone else. One evening, after the research center was quiet and most people had gone home, Amina sat near Kira's room. She looked at Kira through the glass and saw her sitting silently, staring at the stars outside the window. Kira's eyes looked sad, and Amina's heart ached. She wanted to reach out but knew she could not. Suddenly, Kira moved her hand slowly and made a soft sound, almost like a whisper. Amina's eyes widened. She remembered the language lessons she had been studying and realized Kira was trying to say something important. She focused carefully on the gestures and sounds. The next day, Amina tried to respond. Using small drawings and simple signs, she began to answer Kira. She drew a picture of a heart and pointed to herself, then to Kira. Kira looked at the drawing for a long time. Her eyes softened. Then, with a gentle movement, she placed her hand over her own chest and nodded. This was the first time Kira used a sign that Amina understood clearly. It meant, "I love you." Amina felt her breath catch in her throat. She looked around to make sure no one was watching. The rules were strict. Prisoners were not allowed to have any emotional connections with humans, especially scientists. But in that moment, all rules seemed far away. Amina's feelings were growing too. She felt a strange warmth she had never felt before. It was not just sympathy or kindness. It was love. But she was scared. What if anyone found out? What if she lost her job, or worse, what if Kira was punished for speaking like this? Still, Amina wanted to learn more. She spent every free moment studying Kira's language and culture. She read the notes from earlier scientists and searched for clues about the aliens' world. Kira's planet was very different from Earth, full of strange plants, huge mountains, and fierce creatures. Kira had been a protector of her people, a warrior who fought for peace. Despite her strength, Kira seemed lonely and tired. Amina understood that the alien was trapped between two worlds, the one she came from and the one where she was now held captive. Amina's heart went out to her. She wished she could help Kira return home. At night, when the facility was quiet, Amina sometimes whispered to herself, practicing the alien words she had learned. She wanted to be able to speak with Kira freely someday. She dreamed of a time when they could talk without fear or secrets. One day, Kira surprised Amina again. She used a new sign, one that meant friend. Amina smiled and nodded. She knew that even though they could not speak, their friendship was growing stronger. But their secret was fragile. The security at the research center was tight. Cameras watched every room, and guards patrolled the halls. Amina knew that if anyone discovered their bond, It could end badly for both of them. Still, she could not stop herself. She visited Kira's room every day, bringing small gifts like books, pictures, and sometimes a soft blanket. Kira accepted these gifts with quiet gratitude. She began to smile sometimes, and those moments made Amina feel hopeful. The scientists who worked with Amina began to notice her changed behavior. She was more focused on Kira than on her scientific work. Some whispered behind her back, saying she was breaking the rules. But Amina did not care. She believed that love and understanding were more important than rules. One afternoon, while Amina was in Kira's room, the alien woman reached out and gently touched Amina's hand. The touch was soft, but strong. It said more than words ever could. Amina's eyes filled with tears. She realized that Kira trusted her completely. Their connection was growing deeper every day. They learned to read each other's feelings without speaking. Amina knew that their friendship was special, a bond between two very different beings who understood each other in a way no one else could. But deep inside, Amina also felt fear. The world outside was not ready to accept this love between a human and an alien prisoner. There were many dangers ahead. She wondered how long their secret could last. One night, as Amina left the research center, she looked back at the building where Kira was held. The stars were shining brightly above. She whispered, "I will protect you, no matter what." Kira's silent love was a light in the darkness for both of them. In the cold mountain air, two souls had found each other. Their story was just beginning, and it was full of hope, courage, and the promise of something new. Amina's days became a mix of science and secret friendship. She worked hard, doing her research and helping Kira in every way she could. But inside, she struggled with her feelings. She knew she was breaking the rules by caring so much for the alien prisoner. Yet she could not stop herself. Every time she saw Kira's eyes, full of hope and pain, her heart told her to keep going. Kira was not only a prisoner, she was a warrior who had fought to protect her home and people. Her stories, though told through signs and drawings, were full of courage and strength. Amina listened carefully, learning about battles, loyalty, and sacrifice. Kira's world was very different, but her feelings were the same as any human's. The days were long and hard, but the moments Amina and Kira shared made everything worthwhile. Amina helped Kira feel safe and cared for in a place that was cold and lonely. She learned how to speak some of Kira's language and helped the alien understand Earth's customs. Their secret friendship was growing deeper, but danger was near. The leaders at the research center had started to notice Amina's unusual behavior. She spent more time with Kira than her work required. Some scientists whispered that she was becoming too emotional, too involved. The government agents were watching closely, looking for any signs of disobedience. One afternoon, Amina was called to a meeting. The head of the project, a stern man named Colonel Hayes, looked serious. He warned her that the rules were clear. No emotional connection with the prisoner was allowed. He said that such feelings could be dangerous for both Amina and Kira. Amina listened quietly, her heart heavy. She knew the risks, but also knew she could not give up on Kira. She promised herself to be more careful, to keep their friendship hidden. But inside, she was afraid. What would happen if they were discovered? Despite the warning, Amina continued her secret meetings with Kira. They found new ways to communicate, through drawings, music, and even small gifts. Amina brought Kira a picture book with images of Earth's animals and plants. Kira's eyes lit up as she explored the colorful pages. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Kira reached out and touched Amina's face gently. It was a simple gesture, but it spoke volumes. It meant trust, love, and hope. Amina felt tears in her eyes. She wanted to hold Kira and tell her everything would be okay. But the world outside was not kind. The research center was surrounded by fences and guards. Kira was still a prisoner, and the future was uncertain. Amina's feelings grew stronger each day. She dreamed of a time when Kira could be free and safe. She thought about how love could break down the walls between their worlds. But she also knew that such a dream was fragile. One night, Amina wrote in her private journal about her fears and hopes. She wrote about the love that had grown between her and Kira, a love that was forbidden but real. She wished she could share it with the world, but for now it had to stay a secret. As the days passed, Amina and Kira's bond became a source of strength for both of them. They were not just prisoner and scientist anymore. They were friends, and something more. A connection that defied rules and fear. But the dangers were growing. The government was preparing to move Kira to a different location. Amina feared that the separation would be painful and final. She wondered if their secret love could survive the distance. On the day before the move, Amina visited Kira one last time in their secret way. They sat together quietly, sharing memories and silent promises. Kira touched Amina's hand and whispered in her alien language, "I love you, human." Amina's heart ached, but she smiled through her tears. "I love you too, Kira," she said softly. The next morning, Kira was taken away. Amina watched as the strong warrior woman was led down the hall, her eyes meeting Amina's one last time. In that look, there was hope, pain, and love. Amina stood alone, but she was not empty. The secret bond they shared gave her courage. She knew that no matter what happened, their story was not over. After Kira was taken away, the research center felt colder and emptier to Amina. The place where Kira had lived was silent now, and the bright eyes that once looked at her with trust were gone. Amina missed her deeply, but she knew the hardest part was yet to come. Kira's future was uncertain, and Amina worried about what might happen to her. Kira was being moved to a new location. The government said it was for her safety, but Amina suspected it was more than that. They wanted to keep her far away from anyone who might help her or understand her. The new place was even more secure, and no one would be allowed to visit her except for the officials. This meant Amina might never see her again. The days after Kira's transfer were filled with silence and waiting. Amina threw herself into her work, but found it difficult to focus. Her thoughts always returned to Kira's brave face and kind eyes. She kept remembering the last time they touched hands and whispered words that no one else could hear. At night, Amina sat by the window in her small room and looked up at the stars. She thought about Kira's home planet, so far away among those stars. She wondered if Kira could see the same sky from her prison cell. The thought made Amina feel close to her, even though they were miles apart. Amina began to write letters to Kira. She knew the letters might never reach her, but writing helped her feel connected. In those letters, Amina told stories about Earth, the animals, the weather, and even about herself. She hoped that one day, Kira would read them and remember their secret friendship. Meanwhile, the research center was busy with new projects. The discovery of alien life had changed everything. Scientists debated how to treat Kira's people. Were they enemies, or could they be friends? Amina believed in peace. She wanted to show the world that love and understanding could overcome fear. But not everyone agreed. Some leaders were still afraid of Kira's kind. They wanted to keep her locked away forever, far from human eyes. Amina felt angry and sad. She knew that love was stronger than fear, but changing the minds of powerful people was not easy. One day, a message arrived at the research center. It was from Kira's planet. The message was simple but filled with meaning. "We remember her. We honor her courage." It was a sign that Kira was not forgotten, and her people still cared. Amina felt a new hope rise inside her. She decided to fight for Kira's freedom and for peace between their worlds. She began to speak out, sharing her story in secret meetings with other scientists. She told them about the alien warrior woman who loved a human and showed kindness despite being a prisoner. Her words inspired others. Slowly, more people began to understand that fear could be replaced with friendship. They started to question the harsh rules that kept Kira locked away. Amina's courage was changing hearts. But the fight was not easy. Amina faced many challenges. Some people called her a traitor. They warned her to stop or lose everything. She felt alone sometimes, but the memory of Kira's love gave her strength. As months passed, Amina never stopped hoping. She dreamed of the day when Kira would be free to walk under the stars again, not as a prisoner, but as a friend. She believed that love could break even the strongest walls. In her heart, Amina knew their story was far from over. It was a story about courage, hope, and the power of love to change the world. Amina never stopped thinking about Kira. Even though they were apart, their connection stayed alive in her heart. The love between a human and an alien prisoner was something no one expected, but it was real and strong. Amina believed that love could change even the hardest hearts. She kept working at the research center, but also started speaking out more. She talked to other scientists, leaders, and people who could help. She shared her story quietly, telling them about Kira's courage, kindness, and the love they shared. Some listened, and some did not. But little by little, Amina's message reached more people. The world was slowly changing. People began to see aliens not as enemies, but as beings with feelings, families, and dreams. New ideas about peace and friendship started to grow. Amina felt hopeful, even though the road was long and difficult. One day, a surprising message came from the government. They had decided to allow Kira to be moved to a peaceful place where she would not be a prisoner, but a guest. She would be able to live more freely and even communicate with people who wanted to understand her. Amina was overjoyed. She prepared for the day when she could see Kira again. When that moment came, it was full of tears and smiles. Kira was no longer the scared prisoner, but a strong woman full of hope. They talked in their special way, using words, signs, and feelings. The love between them was still there, growing stronger. They promised to never forget each other and to keep fighting for peace between their worlds. Amina knew their story was just the beginning. It was a story that showed how love could cross any boundary, even the one between different planets. It was a story about courage, friendship, and hope. Together, Amina and Kira worked to build a future where humans and aliens could live together in peace. Their love became a symbol of what was possible when people looked beyond fear and saw the heart inside. In the end, their secret love was not just a forbidden story. It was a powerful message that love can change the world, no matter where you come from or who you are.